Hi, folks. Welcome to the Brooklyn Rails online Wednesday poetry reading series. We have a fabulous reading for you today. Please take your seats or get up with them, whatever seems most comfortable. Our reading today is curated by Ed Friedman, and the reading is called Five Readings. It's the 134th Wednesday poetry reading put on by the Brooklyn Rail in the last few years, which is a lot, but it's nothing compared to the Poetry Project, where there's been about 10,000 Wednesday readings, which I'm only saying because it's a funny thing to say, actually. Like, this reading series is still just a child. Ed is going to be joined by Brenda Coultas, Steve Levine, Gillian, McCain, and Bob Rosenthal. I will be introducing each of them. My name's Anselm Berrigan, and I work with Carolyn and Chloe and Eleanor on this series here. If you're here for the first time, you might pay attention to the chat as things go on. You can post remarks, but there will also be information on what each reader's up to and links to their various works and days, and some information on the rail itself. This is part of the new Sociality Environs series, which is in episode 807. And so these things happen every day at 1 o'clock. And on Wednesday, it's a reading. Now, I'm going to introduce Brenda, who will be reading first. Brenda Coultas is the author of 5 collections of poetry, including The Tatters and The Marvelous Bones of Time. Her work can be found in Bomb, the Brooklyn Rail, and the anthology Readings in Contemporary Poetry that Dia put out a few years ago. Her new book, The Writing of an Hour, is just out from Wesleyan University Press. She is a legend of the Lower East Side. Please welcome Brenda Coultas to the Wednesday Rail series.
Thank you. I like being a legend. That sounds great. Okay. So, love in satisfying lines. There was a mammal who knew how to love, even apart from the milk-fed others. To deprive mammals of love is as cruel a crime as robbing the permafrost of tusk and fur. I love in satisfying lines. Do all mammals know how to love in satisfying lines? Like loving is linear, even with breaks and grooves, carries on as the doctor burst in the door with graph paper in hand, talking about my perfect heartbeat. That day on the Bowery, the passers-by became mammals to me. I knew this all along, but the veil lifted like t-shirts rising above midriffs, and I saw their exposed bellies. I thought of love as the ectoplasm binding the Bowery Mission, Chase Bank, NYU dorms, Joey Ramone's Corner, Avalon Bay Apartments, Patagonia Clothing, Think Coffee, and the bookstore behind my back, the ectoplasm of love wrapping Bowery and Bleecker in bright orange gauze and lifting skyward. Funhouse. Went to get groceries, but a wall stood in my way. There was a crack in the wall and I squeezed through it. On the other side was a bed and a carafe of water. At the top of the stairs, I came face to face with a wall of red mud. The red mud blocked the way as a sort of Kathy Acker tribute. Someone asked for a bandage, but a wall appeared and she had to chisel a hole large enough for her hand to pass through. It had been days and she longed for a taste of water, but there was a high wall around the fountain. The fountain itself was thirsty for drinkers, even pigeons. Someone built a wall in the sky to keep us here. Then a rocket ship like a magic bus drove through the clouds and pierced the blue wall. It rained glass for days. The first graders made a castle, drawbridges, and fire-breathing dragons out of plastic bricks. Even children understand the ropes. Walking by a construction site this morning, I drew a yellow squiggle for my name and made a drawing of a lamb. I felt an invisible wall and then an invisible ceiling. No one believed me. Only I could sense the limitations. A lover and a wall can be the same thing. Earthly. I cast an earth from wax and pour inside all planetary water, salty and fresh, clean and dirty, with tiny plastics too. Tie the waxen earth to the rafters with ribbon. A soft and heavy earth hanging next to wax arms and legs, hung for God to see. And I feel the arms and legs with dried fruit because it is as sweet and dense as warmed blood. Blue of bees. You remove her face and another face appears and smells like oranges. You remove another face.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
Oh. That was Siri. Let me come back. Blue of bees. You remove her face and another face appears and smells like oranges. You remove another face and fingers as flat as folded wings appear. When you stood up, it became clear that bees are not made of wood, but of earth. You are not the doll's faded face. You are not a face inside of another's face. You are a beehive dripping in honey and wax, and you may be a queen. Once there was a girl trapped inside, an iron maiden with only a bee as a confidant. A bee who is a secret keeper, and a bee of noble heart, a bee of kindly touch, but without a key. They dwelled until they dwelled no more, and left upon this earth mortal coils inside a corset of steel and honey. Untitled. I once lived there on the water, and the bridge is famous. Like in pictures are wedding cakes, frosty and white. But crossing it is like rolling suitcases on stairs. Crossing over is ordinary, stone and pavement, but underneath ferries and speedboats. I once lived there for a short time. I met a man who knew the same people back home, only he really didn't know them except as fellow professors at faculty meetings. Coffee shop with a little air conditioning is where we met. It was not a romance. We became a pair and took a ferry to an island to hear music in a medieval church. Mosaics of Christ and his cohorts on the ceiling. I once lived there the same as glass blowers and grave diggers, like the live camera pointing at my bridge, a tongue clicking in code before my breath, an undefined future tense. Hierarchy of walls. There is an office of walls that wrote themselves into being the department of walls, a city office for composting household thoughts, for local visiting and partial thoughts. I compost leftover thoughts into a bin. The thoughts keep well in a freezer, perfectly good thoughts combined with your neighbors, for mulching by the river beside a walking path. I walk into an office of compost, gather a bag of thoughts. They taste like salty licorice, like salty black coins. Strength. When I was small enough to fit into a steamer trunk, adults took the doors off of old refrigerators where children were curious enough to hide. Rectangles of glamour like house trailers, although they have doors on each end. Houses. I woke up and saw that my hands had become small chairs. I sat on them and fractured the left and the right. My hands were small chairs. I painted them in rainbow colors. Imagine this. After dinner, my hands became tables. I placed several art books upon them and then a goosenecked reading lamp. My eyes became eggs and fit comfortably inside my sockets. My sockets could have been egg cartons for all that it mattered. My tables became houses, and we, my partner and I, moved in. The last poem. Notes for a tea. Take them a cake or fruit on a stick. I eat out of the jar and scrape the skin of an orange and take my time to read handwritten notes posted on the wall. Be kind, they said, sticking their signs in the lawn. Be nice or leave, said the bartender, and I spit on all the paper napkins, but I'm always kind to the cashier. In the woods, I built an altar, not like in church, more like in nature or in head shop. I carefully place rolling papers and a glass pipe in harmony. There are teas for sleeping, and some teas will bring you wealth. Would you drink a tea for true love? Do you like or make potions? I collect bits of paper, cast runestones, read cards, and lay out my best silk. To my love and my beloveds, be kind and be akin, be righteous, be soft and be firm, be pleased with yourself. Inside of our kindness, which we wore as garments, as in tunics, not jumpers or dresses, our cups overflow with coins. Our love invented an animal. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much, Brenda. Next, we're going to hear from Ed Friedman, who has put this reading together. Ed is the author of 11 books of poetry and prose, including Mao and Matisse, Drive Through the Blue Cylinders and Two Towns, all of which were published by Hanging Loose Press. He was the artistic director of the Poetry Project at St. Mark's Church from 1987 to 2003. And he saved that place's ass. Please welcome Ed Friedman.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Anselm, for inviting me, and Carolyn and the rest of the Real crew for hosting this. And thank all of you for being here. I'm going to read from a series that I'm still working on called Midsts, M-I-D-S-T-S. Bob Rosenthal has pointed out that's a hard word to say, but I like it. Seal briefing. Walk the beachfront in our little country. Meet its president. A kerchief covers her hairdo. Seaweed washes ashore, but none tangles the sandpiper's feet. Lost, sporty old men, wrapped in green and white striped bath sheets, seek new public families, with or without children, who create parties, wipe sediment off drink coolers and picnic hampers. A sleeper, I wake up in shade, skin browned, not burned, in no need of central government. Watch me stay dreamy, assured, without a kill switch in my car or inhibiting back cramps. Sit nearby, clear of enveloping sentiment. Your eyes on the water and horizon return to me anytime we agree on chilled pineapple spears. I kid Homo sapiens. Hand me a sleek new cardboard sign that blesses our pear grove's grand opening. What likely leads to strong grasping of tree-ripened fruit? Informed reach? We see against circumstances, darkening fall afternoon, tree shadows swivel slowly. Close the sky blue Dodge Dart's door, wishing it were Chrysler's Imperial model with strongly scented leather seats. Who thinks skinned animal upholstery rubs an average person for decades without memory or complaint? I do, and don't. But now we waddle out, fuel up, go home, expect the world of poems, rehearse several happy faces, choose one, show it off to Dr. Alimentado's best dressed chicken in the town, the best addressed a chicken.
Cluck, cluck, cluck.
Voluble hints. Even the head of a pin needs its special cream. We call it sunlit ocean. No, cotton wish. Rub it on, hesitate, watch the day get roomy. My motions unhurried follow this line home. Experience lagging, maybe in tight there. Don't smoke or depend on bees for buzz. You watched me recently take dainty bites to make myself more hungry, long for oceanfront. Wear faded green shorts, remove oily spots. 1 block away, Montana's most famous film director awaits our epic shooting script for Jump Off the Table. Have you seen Sis's feverish writing method in action? Her ink dabs on sheets of cigarette paper seize all control. Ample thingies. Come instantly awake today, feeling less safe. Wipe my hands, look worried, wipe my hands. Picture a million mountains even to go there and get startling effects with smoke in regular sky. How hard it is to find detailed motion in mental images that connect to each other but remain rooted, not dead but roped, having been a go once, now stopped. Water rises against shores or banks when among streams. An idea should rise, and when it doesn't, spend a dime, hire somebody, wait like Jack Spicer the whole night for a radio signal, visit the dry cleaners down the block, and fish for believable compliments like, "What a handsome wool suit you've got there, now that I sponged off all the schmutz." Binds sloughing to thwarts. I am the exact replica of 16th century Dutch life, unable to transfer know-how from printed woodcut to crop configuration. Yet you are facts correlated to me, tides to my shoreline, amiable snowfall to plowed under barley stalks. We inquire about each other's hallucinatory dreams, their swirling, slightly metallic colors and herringbone patterns. Lori, my wife, used to paint those motifs along with maddening paisleys. Animal fur designs on live creatures enhance their survival odds, like cheetahs and sloth speeds, fast and slow, respectively. Our sluggish drives at 25 miles per hour on busy thoroughways infuriate fellow motorists, winter or summer, crashes or not, about as much as marine life conservers get pissed off at tidal barrages. My idea of you arrives in Holland centuries early and dry, thanks to the smattering of lowland dikes. Chances float away, blown beyond. Chances float away, blown behind sure, flat, hard dirt, says God. I notice her as the tour guide, recently escaped from flames, hunched shoulders, tailored blue, dark suit jacket, no lapel badge engraved with deity. We're beyond beach road, desert shrubs, and scattered palms. These could talk, but don't. Am I partial to blonde hair neatly combed? Not at all. Who's a friend in this colony? Why arrive like tourists among flat-faced apartment buildings and two-story resort motels? God says, contain yourself. Don't think of Mexico, pronounced Mexico, or stand apart when we most want unity. Talk first, or if in a dump truck, floor the accelerator. I am the god of matching outfits and deeply tanned forehead creases. You are state radio airwaves imparting the sublime for free. What we smell of each other drives us crazy. Aren't fuels adorable? Why make up names for products? Slipper flow for an old hand-painted city gardener's truck, or here among melons for Fresno's fabled outskirts. Look down the sidewalk, almost ready to go, are 50 assured laborers waiting patiently to be hired, hardly patient compared to green mountains among proven revolutionary methods. Legged life forms crawl out of night-blackened waters. Sharp corners require record amounts of chipping and sanding. Once you could buy them, and like predicting noon, life maintained a presumed shape. Now I cross state roads and point to myself, motion you towards me. We start minding the city's chill and observe incisive slogans, hand-lettered, fussed over, on strike and parade posters, and especially on pictorial orange crate labels. Bonnie's Best, Juan's Wonderland, Daring Mandarins. Slow cruise damper. Where I saw you before exactly is in Wang Anshi's Heaven's Loom of Origins Unfolding, Tao Thought Experiment, David Hinton translation. An act with hurricane's force, only not that violent, requiring speed and fat. Now wait and make much of squat bronze lamps with big shades, oyster patterned. They feel good, worthy of time. Down a back hall, up the dark stairwell, my daily pills are laid out in 7 opaque plastic compartments. Snap open Monday. Nothing here for pain, pleasure, or hallucinations. Swallow these tablets for raised potential. More moonlit stream currents gather and disperse all night. And the last for today of me. My dirty trances, too. Energy makes the world current. We people, all experts, stir the road dust, have our hairs fall out. The flat view, green sweeps, sand and scrub, muddy canals, forms horizons, stained golden this afternoon. Plenty to think about. Women, men, by definition, our paths intersect and splay. We push on, stare calmly, camp and cook. Games transform every occasion into parties. Pickups slow down, stall-outs continue. Every time we touch each other, irritations mount, skins flush, sentiments shift, oddly enough, for hours, weeks, lifetimes. Vibrant and dull meanings take hold. Elaborate cultures and unrecordable histories. One theory, yet unproven, is we dream all we know every night and could spend days exchanging knowledge with anybody we want, and that would be everyone.
Thanks, Ed. I like the idea of reading the last poem in a reading and saying this is the last poem for now. Next, we're going to hear from Steve Levine. Steve is a poet and a navigator of the space-time continuum, where he has roamed since 1953. Born in Brooklyn, by the way. His writing is primarily collected in A Blue Tongue, 3 Numbers and Pure Notations from Toothpaste Press, and The Cycles of Heaven, and 2 and 4 from Coffee House Press, as well as various anthologies and magazines. And you can find a handful of lovely poems of his in the Brooklyn Rail issue from January of last year. These days, Steve has been thinking about the innate human desire to impose order on chaos, something he has only ever been able to achieve in a poem. Please welcome Steve Levine to the Rail reading.
Thank you. Great to be here, and I'll just start now. In the text of this slight poem, I feel compelled to tell you that in what I take to be a relatively obscure Clint Eastwood vehicle, a movie called Joe Kidd, Clint the Joe Kidd of said title does single-handedly thwart the violent force, Robert Duvall's raging megalomania, etc., and in the process save the former lover of Juan Chavez, the deprived of his land, Mexican-American peasant revolutionary, from the filthy, I have to use that word, filthy, grip of the stereotypic white, fascist, enterprising bastard, just to tell her maybe 1 or 2 hours later that he did not, repeat, he did not accomplish this near superhuman feat solely to save her life. I did not accomplish this near superhuman feat solely to save your life. Now I'm paraphrasing Joe. It's just that I really admire your politics. Poem. Good morning, you will be loved. On this glorious day, you will be hated, both kissed and despised. Good morning, bright steps rising to brownstone buildings, colorful individuals angling down them toward the train. Sadly, heedlessly, or in inspired, reckless ecstasy, on this glorious day, you will love, you will hate, both kiss and despise. The grotesque beauty, the radiantly ugly, the genius or the just plain foolish and goofy. Good morning all. On this glorious day, the boundless white beret is on your lovely heads. Go ahead, love and be loved, hate and be hated, kiss and despise, be kissed and despised. Miserable life. To climb the stairs with slippers, to slip off with every step, to feel one's foot slipping, or to not to put one's foot then, an accident, into the one wet mud rut and splatter the one woman you love. And at the theater, to shove, to slip in, just to sit behind a giant. And also, at the moment your most grandiose train of thought is pulling out, to know your close friend is dead. And then again, to go on. Ted, in the dead of winter, to spread cold butter on soft bread, to go on, to eat one's daily tiny eggs in order. Then, when one must fish life's wet bar of soap out from under some furniture, to find it covered with horrific hair, fur of cat, and feathers, to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. This is not at all amusing, miserable life. Still life. Not yet, ready but soon to ripen. Farmer's market peaches in a low aubergine bowl before a jug of rippled glass, cold, glistening black. That's iced coffee, I said, and for a second thought, Could life get much better than this? I mean, short of a plague-free existence, a peaceable kingdom, a healthy infusion of many, many dollars into my meager, depleted accounts. Wingding. I didn't really suggest we call our monthly meetings wingdings. Just simply said I'd written the word, which had come to me reeling straight out of the proverbial blue in my calendar. Even so, Cliff was dead set against it. Bob cracked up. Ed defined it. Wild, lively, lavish party. Barbara remained mum. Greg was absent, 5-hour opera. And Maggie, maybe amused, expressed no serious objection at all. The poet who set his hat on fire. Oh, quizzical, quasi-philosophical, utterer of enigmas and other anodyne ephemera. It seems you've leaned a little too close to the flame. Poem. The cat urinated on Yanni. Right in the face in the photo of the grinning Greek in the pages of the New York Times that lined the litter box. Thank you, Yanni, for being so positioned. Thank you, cat, for being so inclined. Rhyming. Changing the sheets this Sunday. A bittersweet discovery. These panties, now washed freshly. I believe they are yours, 100% sure. I'd never wear orange, and they're definitely too dainty. Reconsider, baby. Here it is again. Time to take refuge in the blues. To wrest meaning from the wreckage and re-reckon. The out of your hands, not in your pocket, disquiet time, when everything is only temporary, a crapshoot at best, uncertain in its entirety. My thoughts like fingers passing back and forth restlessly across the embossed cover of your stark white book. Lily of the Incas. Funny how the speckled white and pink petals born in the umbels of the Alstroemeria, bought to adorn our dinner, opened fully only the following day. And how even now, a complete week later, a few of the same dead stems, though trimmed, linger, looking for all the world as if they are still living. In a moment, sun-struck petals resting above bright green bracts were racked by whirling wind and rain. Their veins, once flush, are now collapsed, expressions of the dark and wild storm. For the birds. First light, birds stirring. Awakened now, I, no longer dreaming, hear morning, doves hollow fluting, and robins excited, commenting on the onset of spring. Then there's the one forever sounding, dire like a rusty hinge, unexpectedly not, implying impending disaster or doom, but holding forth as if it is a demigod with a sent from heaven's song. Thanks for that, and for taking the icy silence of winter, burning with uncertainty, away. From the margins. As long as we insist on breathing, there is no escaping. Life shaped by longing and loss. With no darkness or irony, their shadows precede them. Without intentionality, they empty the beauty of night-blooming flowers, hike through the muck while holding out and holding on, move us to utter our desires as often as there are days. Maybe you know by now, I spend a lot of time with the language of fragility and mortality, of moments swallowed up and pulled forward toward chaos. Do you think that's too heavy? Do you think I should make it funny? Or do you want me to continue messaging from the margins, smoothing the convoluted loops for you? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. I wanted heavy and funny.
You got it.
Our next reader is going to be Gillian McCain. Gillian's books of poetry include Tilt, Religion, and the collaborative book Descent of the Dolls with Jeffrey Conway and David Trinidad. She's also the co-author with Legs McNeil of Please Kill Me, the uncensored oral history of punk, and Dear Nobody, the true diary of Mary Rose. In the early 90s, she served as the program coordinator of the Poetry Project, where she originated the Friday night series. And in the early aughts, if you were working at the Poetry Project, it was very grounding to be able to have lunch with Gillian and gossip about all kinds of things. Please welcome Gillian McCain to the to the Brooklyn Rail reading series.
Okay, I have 8 prose poems I'm going to read. The first one is called Product. Chatter over the picket fence about weapons of mass destruction. No longer all the rage, but perhaps we can push a pin in that, the beginning of the end. The neighbors went all out this year, fairy lights, fountains, flamingos. You can look, but not finger. Our mutual mid-century modern ancestors were out of frame, but had friends in high places. They informed us that the reconnaissance mission was well underway. Additional dialogue was provided by 24-hour talking heads, some soon to be disgraced. You know who I'm talking about. Debris floated down from the mid-air collision. A voice jumped out of a device that you had thought you had turned off. Stuff like that happens a lot these days, just waiting for the pin to drop or bomb. Year. The wind is wheezing, but nothing is moving, which is confusing. My power genes are on slow rotation. I'm stuck. Cases are spiking. Back to directionless pacing. Is this what entropy amounts to? 5 years from now, will time still be blurred? House arrest has its upsides, but those upsides are obsolete now. There is no going back. The bulb in the black lobe blinks. I look at you over the screen. I feel my spirit dissolving. Salt just hit glass bottom. Time is up. I should get out more often no longer means anything except you're taking your chances, which is a personal choice, but don't expect a hug upon your return. Choice. Otis is back, doing the adult thing and considering doing the parent thing. It will be interesting to watch, said the off-screen commentator. Ever feel like your algorithm doesn't understand you, Otis asked me. His girlfriend is the brains behind the current fetishization of birthday cake, gets a piece of every lip gloss and candle sold. They are financially secure, a perfect juncture in time to grow their own friend. Otis worries his seasonal affective disorder is hereditary. His lady friend fears it will slow her down. She strives for mania. She also doesn't know if she wants to manufacture a family with someone who calls her his lady friend. Partner sounds like we live on separate horses, admonishes Otis. Tonight, his mother watches from behind their curtains, texting various trusted advisors. Why is he writing prose when he said he wanted to write poetry? She asks her doctor, the one who informed her that belly fat is the ultimate killer. He replies with a shrugging emoji, then turns off his notifications. Otis turns up whatever device is appropriate for cocktail hour. Lady friend is doing child's pose, or is it downward dog? Let's nod and say we did, Otis screams over the dubstep as he mixes a drink. To be continued. Blood. Do I have to watch my language? Blood. Do I have to watch my language? Or is this an equal opportunity race to that cuddly, safe place? The issue was brought up at the children's table, seemingly in jest. There are no bad books, my father said, nor is there room in the room for anyone under the age of 8. Wherever my brain went, instant regret. The longest covered bridge in the world was a long, strange trip, though they say if you drove through it, then you didn't actually drive through it. Squinting. The freak accident was alarming, but did not freak her out. A skinned knee, a stubbed toe. Death is far away until it is suddenly there. Downpour out of nowhere. Touchy-feely with a blunt instrument. Families don't grow on trees. Hey, you said it, I didn't. Internship. He wanted a new flower girl and he wanted her fast. 189 takes and the guy still wasn't pleased. Dune was told to not stop watering and Beak was told to keep the can full at all times. It was a shit show. They had just crawled out from under a rock or had crawled out of one. Frankly, it's all a blur, but they had definitely fallen into the wrong hands, the ones without currency. Dune used her year-end gift certificate to buy a NutriBullet, so meals would become no-brainers. Rude awakening, batteries and berries not included. Working with geniuses does not have much of an upside, especially when they consider you multi-purpose, and they are mute on purpose. Their next assignment is to get him a new flower girl, just as pretty and just as young. Well, not too young. Bottom. The problem is not that of being an antiquity. The problem is being an antiquity that no longer has any fair market value. To mourn the mussetation beneath the scaffolding. What role is now available to me, if any? The product that tightens, tones, and exfoliates will arrive in 5 business days. In the meantime, I'm browsing salvage for tattered magic, erasers that signify nothing. Slow murmur from the trenches. Maybe death is arriving and it's you who are departing. Whatever, I've said my piece, whatever peace means. Movement. There is a new strain, and as my niece says, it does indeed appear somewhat dodgy. Back to our shell. That's okay. It's called the future, was to be expected. Don't act so surprised. Rod Steiger wasn't. Authorities didn't discover any advanced cases until post-emergency landing, which wouldn't have warranted an emergency if they hadn't known what they knew at the time. By then, it was all over the airwaves, or whatever waves that were still waving. This variant is so cheeky and mouthy, it will no longer be ignored. It's here for the long haul, just like you and me, only slightly altered. This is the last one. Opportunity. June and Beek enter the picture reluctantly. Following their discovery of the perfect flower girl for the ornery lech and her instantaneous rise to stardom, Hollywood beckoned, and soon they relocated to a provenance-laden case house in one of the less obscure canyons. They spend their days hiking various vistas, looking for hybrids, human, alien, and/or human AI, the so-called beautiful people with perfectly synchronized faces and the occasional gap tooth. At night, they storm the clubs and dance amongst the many prospects. They pride themselves on never handing out more than 3 calling cards a week. They are blessed with a discerning eye, which cannot be bought unless you have shit tons of offshore money. We are looking for a Jane Doe type, of course. They work hard, barely sleep, and are known in the industry as iconoclasts. They wear sun protection 24/7. They will never go under the knife or be injected into, but keeping this high moral ground means existing in a constant state of preventative living. Constant hydration? Check. Daily cleansing, detoxifying, and peeling? Check. They keep their facial expressions down to the bare minimum. Once they've squirreled away around 10 mil, they're going to return to New York, ditch the laugh track, and go back to being the natural, fun-loving beauties they were born into being. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Gillian.
Thank you.
And now we're going to conclude the reading with Bob Rosenthal. Bob is the author of Straight Around Allen, On the Business of Being Allen Ginsberg, from Beat Them Books in 2019, and also Cleaning Up New York, republished by Little Book Room in 2016. His books of poetry include Morning Poems, Lies About the Flesh, Rude Awakenings, Viburnum, and 11 Psalms. His plays, co-written with Bob Holman, are The Cause of Gravity, and one of them is called The Cause of Gravity. The Horror of the Alpines is another one, Bicentennial Suicide, and Clear the Range are also plays by Bob and Bob. Please welcome Bob Rosenthal to the reading.
Okay, thank you, Anselm, and all the Brooklyn railers. Day off in the wood. A cloud is slow to lift off the ground. Skeletal trees boldly stand with bare twigs. All the mother trees were harvested hundreds of years ago. Some junk was dumped at their roots, but that too sinks deep into earth. Yet, if left untouched long enough, it will become old growth forest again. Mother and children will communicate through fungi in sod to share nutrients. Amazingly, different tree species share survival better than humans do, even though we are one. I walk spongy soil that humbles me. I drive poems into the ground, pray a poet walks the earth centuries hence, stops to ponder a new poem that once was mine. forever yours. Do you believe in the hereafter? In Texas, a man brings flowers to his wife's fresh grave, shot to death in school. He carefully places the flowers, drops dead with a massive heart attack, a desire to join his lost love. They will meet again. He brews coffee in the morning. She cooks a fish for dinner. No, not right. No food, no drink, no touching, nothing physical about the afterlife. Wispy spirits singing hosannas without voices, no sound. Me, I'm not comforted by this thought. Fortunately, my faith is only found on earth. I speak it and walk it. So though I won't die to be with you, I would die to shield you. So one of us can live. Doing so is all the life I need. Warrior Prayer for Jennifer Gage. My faith is solid, sunlight warms a winter windowsill. Love knows no bounds, it cannot end once begun. You hold the entire world in your hands. You are the fearless warrior choosing life with your courage. You will choosing life with each air gulp. You will live because your courage is your front line against loss. We look at our blessings, we gather goodness around us. We launch all of it to you. A glamorous cloak is the sky where spirits sing the sensations of your song. Scorpio East. In memoriam, Ted Berrigan. Voices bundled cannot be broken. An imaginary red wave turns out green. This is the end of acceptance. Just get me to the internet, boys. I'll have a confessional fade out. My personal goal is to not smell bad before I die. Now they say our children can't get on our lease. By the waters of Manhattan, a wall is going in. Our ancient hutong is getting boxed, Boxing Day. It runs with the land, steam pipes outside, the street fighting on my stoop, yelling, stairwell, pounding at my door. Get the money, let the dough rise, no enough. And almost on time, the last. Primavera. Sitting among the old men, each singular at his own table, separated by empty chairs, unwrapping Burger King Whoppers. My burger is impossible. The lettuce and tomato and onion seem fresher without meat. I think these are single farmers near me, quietly chewing the soft food. I'm not a farmer, but I realize suddenly I am an old man. Wrinkled skin wraps the back of my hand, gray beard and mustache, hair unkempt sticking out under my cap. Single strands grow on my outer ear, unsteady on my feet, eating less than I used to, driving slower, sleeping more, very hard to open little supermarket bags. I must lick my fingers, sitting in the brisk morning sun on my back brings a warmth I no longer have to me. The aging bones in my shoulders relax. Now I see eternity closer. We near 50 years of marriage. Love is lacking worry. Our finish draws close. But like the fire in our little stove that burns hotter when tamped down, life itself is burning through the clouds. Nothing warm nor cold, neither light nor dark. A patch of blue leads our path. Although polluted and prone to intemperance, sunlight still brings energy to us. We find the miracle needed to breathe. That's it.
Thanks, Bob. That's an amazing way to end the reading. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Bob, Gillian, Brenda, Steve, and Ed. And Ed, thanks for arranging this and getting everybody down and making this happen and bringing us all together. These readings happen every Wednesday. Next week, Lauren Russell is putting together the reading, and we'll have information up on that if it's not already out. If you're not on the newsletter for the Rail, you can go to the Rail website and sign up and get announcements about the readings and the other events. And but otherwise, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. And then as a corollary, Maureen Owen and Susie Timmons are reading at the Poetry Project tonight at 8 o'clock. So if you can get over there, it might feel like part 2.
Hey,
Mo. Hey, we're gonna throw all the mics open and let everybody say hello, and we'll head off back into the other reality.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the reading.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terrific reading.
Have a good day. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good one, y'all.
So good.